First impressions. Well, judging from her eerie, ghoulish nature, the rapid shifting nightmare faces she makes when she's emotional, and the more often than not strong, unhinged psychopath sensation you get from her, one could definitely mistake this goddess for a demon general. She is the goddess of war, Adenela, a basement layer dwelling goddess who doesn't ever get enough sleep and is neglectful of her appearance. Intense under-eye bags, messy hair, ragged dark clothes, and the haven't been outside for ages and been holed up in one's room kinda pale skin. She's usually seen smiling eerily nearly all the time, regardless of mood. She tends to giggle madly and stutter while speaking. And she has a habit of making others feeling unsettled with her sudden series of perplexing behaviors that can be jarringly disturbing. Like when she laughed at the thought of a human having to learn a special divine speed technique that requires extreme limb rotation beyond what a human is capable of. Well, actually, the world building here isn't that basic. Some other goddesses haven't been exactly as virtuous as the ones that were initially depicted either. Some are more noticeable than others. The others, just be aware of ominous forest-inhabiting goddesses, no matter how prim and proper they might appear. This is why we can't judge someone's entire character based on first impression, though not saying Adelena is very much different than the image she showed. Despite her ghastly behavior and appearance, she's actually not as bad as you think. She is rather nice once you get to know her, if you're able to look past her creepy expressions or just be accepting of her outward nature. She's fully aware of how unpleasant she appears to others. She seemingly doesn't care about what others think of her, at least not enough to change what she looks like and how she acts. Adenela chose only to respond to things that pique her interest, paying no mind to visitors greeting her and brushing aside insults thrown at her. Once you've built a friendly relationship with her, you'll find that she's really a socially awkward oddball who's good-natured in heart. Otherwise, Arya wouldn't have directly requested her to be one of Seiya's mentors if she was that bad of a goddess. Since Adenela is an expert sword fighter that's a step above Sirius when it comes to the art of warfare, naturally she becomes one of the next deities to train Seiya in swordplay and teach him a new ability. Her signature
Eternal sword technique.
Meeting Seiya may have been simultaneously the best and worst thing that ever happened to her. First meeting, she finds him to be interesting. He is able to track her high-speed movements and assert dominance in their initial contact. Unfortunately for Adenela, it was the start of her intensive descent into first human love syndrome. First day of training, Adenela clearly becomes smitten with Seiya, blushing as she recalls how amusing he was during their training session. Second day of training, while Seiya was honing his sword techniques, Adenela decides to dress more flattering and proper, worrying about Seiya's opinion of her. He's the one and only human she acknowledges, and the thought of Seiya brings Adenela a feeling of heaven. Third day of training? It's no surprise. Adenela has fallen in love with Seiya and become completely love-struck over the course of 3 days. She completely cleans up her image and goes for a more cutesy look to impress Seiya, consisting of a nice, elegant dress, decorative hairstyle, and girly girl voice. With this new makeover of hers and newfound confidence she found within herself, Adenela was able to open up and express her feelings to her crush right before their departure. As a public display of her affection, she presents a gift of cake to Seiya. Unfortunately, love is complicated. It can be one of the best feelings in the world, but conversely, the opposite holds true as well. No matter how much heart you poured into something, no matter what you do to change yourself, and no matter how much time you spend with them, this is a universal experience all creatures of emotion will come across in their lifetime. Not even the likes of being an all-powerful deity that represents an aspect of human life can naturally conquer unrequited love. Her eventual heartbreak only causes great psychological breakage, deeply disillusioned that their time together and her present would have meant more to him. And it's even worse that the person she confessed her love to was someone like Seiya, the god and goddess slayer. Yeah, she didn't take that rejection too well. Immediately she cries blood, goes on a rampage, and vents her anger on a nearby statue, reverting to her old self, but significantly more deranged, as she becomes obsessed with wanting to kill Seiya for rejecting her and her love. Rejections suck, but they shouldn't deserve to be murdered for not accepting your love, regardless of how insensitive the rejection is. Upon confronting Seiya, she decides to go in for the kill. but on the spot loses her concentration and overwhelmingly murderous intent once he greets her. A couple of head pats from Seiya is all it takes for the goddess of war to swing her mood, become love-struck once more, and forgive best guy. Seiya, you're best guy, but please no more emotionally taking advantage and abusing our goddess of war. She doesn't deserve to be repeatedly insulted, even though she doesn't mind it. And being emotionally strung along with the promise to spend more time with her if she stopped the thing that was chasing him, and even worse, he knew she was going to fail.
Please stop bullying our goddess.
Because of her intense nature, she has seemingly been misunderstood and dismissed as an unwell individual. Without getting the chance to understand her, you wouldn't see her compassionate side. It's apparent she'll protect anyone she cares about, no questions asked. Arya knows that, deep down, Adenela isn't someone who can bring themselves to harm the people she likes. And most notably, she had shown genuine empathy to someone who was grieving. When she heard that the man she fell head over heels for had died, she went to comfort Rista, as she was far more concerned about Ristas' well-being than her own.
リスタ、お前大丈夫か?
Despite having it bad for him, and only having little interactions with Rista, it's clear that Adenela cares more about the people she likes than herself.
いや、私のことよりお前が心配だ。お前の悲しみに比べれば、私なんて。
Also, Adenela did take notice that Rista was concerned about her well-being when she was at her worst. So don't just look at the surface. Sometimes there's something more behind the outward appearance. Some things you have to be cautious around, and other things that you just might misunderstand. Even Seiya gave her a chance without being overly cautious in spite of poor impressions.
気持ち悪い。すごく気持ち悪い。
What are your thoughts on Adenela?